Hey everybody, Brock Frady here, helping you enjoy your ride. In today's video, we're going to take a look at this 2022 Subaru Crosstrek. I love this little vehicle. It is so cool. It does a lot of things very well. It's simple to use. It's jam-packed with safety features, and this is actually a base model Crosstrek. Before we get started, I would like to thank Impex Auto Sales in Greensboro, North Carolina for the opportunity to film this really cool Subaru Crosstrek. I'll be sure to leave all of Impex Auto Sales contact information, including their website, in the description box below. This Crosstrek actually is sitting on really cool looking rims. I love the way they look. It's like a 5-spoke Y shape. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spokes there, like a painted aluminum alloy look, and then it's kind of like a Y shape there at the very top that goes into these bolt looking things. They're not actual bolts though. This is actually sitting on P225 R17 tires. It looks really good. These are Yokohamas that this one is sitting on, so I think they're Geolanders, but M&S, mud and snow. Of course, since this is an all-wheel drive vehicle, it's gonna need an all-wheel drive type of tire. You also have front disc brakes and rear disc brakes. Very, very nice. No drum in the back, rear disc. Another thing that I like is the fact that you get this factory luggage rack right there on the very top. I like how high those bars go, the crossbars go up off of the roof so that whenever you're washing it, you can get under that really easily. Since this one does not have the push button start, it's got a regular key, no key fob here, so the doors don't automatically unlock when you approach the vehicle and touch the door handle. You still have to hit the unlock button. Whenever you hit the unlock button once, the lights flash and it unlocks the driver's door. When you press the unlock button twice, it unlocks all 4 doors and gives you access to the rear gate. When you press the rear gate button, you can press that and it unlocks the rear gate, although it's not a power rear lift gate. I would say that overall, for a wagon, it's a good looking wagon as wagons are concerned. It has good height. It's up a little bit compared to just say a regular wagon that's not a Subaru, that doesn't have all-wheel drive and all those things. But overall, it's pretty plain looking. That's not necessarily a bad thing because most Subaru drivers aren't going to be into the look of the vehicle. They're going to be into the function of the vehicle. You've got your little Subaru blue emblem there up front with all the stars inside of it. You do also notice that you have the Subaru Eye Sight, and that's going to be your radar cruise and your lane adapting, lane tracing, all those things. You also see like a black kind of under bumper there, and that basically goes around the whole vehicle and also over the wells, the wheel wells. That's kind of a good look. I actually kind of like that. But as far as the outside is concerned, or the front is concerned, it's a little bit plain. I like the fact that it doesn't have a black strip down the middle, that it's color coded to the body, so are the door handles. That's a good look in my opinion. I don't actually mind the black rear view mirrors. Also, it gives it a little bit more of a sporty look. Coming around to the back, it's a pretty cool look to me that you have that continuation of the black part over the wheel wells, and then this big section right here with that big reflector right there. I actually kind of like that. I don't know how I feel about it going from black to just like a big solid white part right here, or the color of the body. You know, if the car were silver, then that's going to be silver, but it just looks a little bit off. I don't know, a little interesting right there without the black continuing all the way across the back. From directly behind it, it's got a nice wide stance, a little bit athletic with the fenders right here that come flare out just a little bit. Lights here, nice and easy. It's kind of simple, but it's also chunky kind of in the back as well. You have a backup camera right there. That backup camera is fantastic. Subaru does a really good job with the lines in the camera and how they move and everything. We'll take a look at that as well. Of course, you have your wiper right there for the rear glass. That works nice and easy. There's a little rubber button right here under the Subaru emblem. So all you're going to do is press that in. You can kind of feel the backup camera right here, but just press the button and it pops right up, and it actually comes up nice and easy. The fact that this one does not have a power rear gate, I don't even know if that's available honestly on the Crosstrek, but it's not a big deal because the gate is super light to open and close. You have some all-weather mats right here. These are nice. And then you've got a big mat right here and a tonneau cover, and the tonneau cover simply just comes out and it hooks into the hooks on the either side, and that way you can conceal anything that you have in the back of your Crosstrek. This also removes very easily. You just pull one side to the right or to the left, squeeze it, and then it's gonna, you know, automatically come out. Then you also have an all-weather mat, that's nice, and then a cargo area or the flat floor right there. There's a light right here, over here to the left. You can cut that on, and that gives you just a little bit of light. That's nice. You also have 3 access points or anchor points right there for child safety seats. So that's where you're going to latch your child safety seats. You can put up to 3. That's a nice area. You also notice you've got a little bit of a wheel well that comes in right there on either side. That's going to get in the way somewhat of your storage, but all in all, for the size of vehicle that it is overall, this is actually a pretty good storage area. Let's take a look at the second row seat folded flat to see how much maximum storage area you have with the second row seat folded flat. You can see I've already folded the driver's side seat. It's really simple. It's just a matter of a little pull of this lever, and the seat back comes right out and it folds right down. But what I wanted to point out is this is the seat belt for a third passenger or for the middle person that's going to be riding in the back. And you can see here that seat belt comes from the back right there. You see it's in the wall here, and then it goes all the way down, and then it connects right there. Well, if you wanted to fold this seat down and didn't want that in the way, look, it's going to still be in the way. Let me show you how to disengage that. You can see right here on the back of this is where you click the seat belt into, and then you can see there's a space right there. There's a little place you can insert a key. So check this out. So right here is that place that I was just pointing at. You're going to take the key and you're going to just push it in, and that's going to disengage that right there. And then you'll be able to take that, pull it out, and it's going to go right up into there. See that? Really, really easy. It'll snap up in there too. So then this is your total maximum cargo space behind the second row, with the second row folded down, the tonneau cover still up. But you can see that you've got a lot of space there. Really nice for if you need to carry big items in your Crosstrek. Now the back seat in the Crosstrek, it's decent. I mean, it's the back seat of a small wagon. I have the front seat that is adjusted to my seating position. I'm over 6 feet tall, and in the back, my knees do hit, but it's fine. I mean, I've got plenty of leg room, enough for short trips. As I mentioned, that this is a 3-person second row seat. It's going to be a little bit tight if you do have a third person back here. So you have 3 headrests, really nice, pretty standard. You also have a side curtain airbag, so it's got all the standard stuff. No cup holders back here, no outlets back here for charging your phones or devices. So that's one thing to consider with this version of the Crosstrek. The materials that are used in this are actually really nice, and they are what you would expect to be in a Subaru. They're kind of rugged. However, the seats I've been driving it all weekend, and the seats are actually supportive, but not overly supportive. They're soft too. It's a nice little combination. There's also a little bit of carbon fiber looking material on the inside of the door panels. That's nice. A couple of soft touch places here, but overall it's a pretty basic interior. That's totally fine though, because when you're driving the Subaru, it's not so much about the vehicle itself as it is the destination. Subaru, you can use that for your commercials if you want to. That's no problem. Let's take a look at the heart of the beast. The release for the hood is going to be just to the right of the Subaru emblem. It's right there. You can push it with your finger and then lift it up. What we're looking at under the hood here is a 152 horsepower, 2-liter, 4-cylinder engine. It's kind of like the little engine that could. I really enjoy the engine in this vehicle. I have something else to say about that CVT transmission, but that's for the drive. The 0 to 60 is going to be 8.7 seconds, and Subaru says this has a 1,500 pound tow capacity. Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive system, it has a 5-star safety rating, and the warranty is 3-year, 36,000 miles bumper to bumper, and 5-year, 60,000 miles on the powertrain. That's your engine, transmission, and drive axle. Over here on the right side, you're going to see your battery. Right here is going to be your windshield washer fluid, brake fluid with the yellow lid right there. Your engine, your oil filter is actually right there. I love how that is sitting upside down, and so you can just actually change your oil filter, flip it back up, and then put another one, whoop, right back on. Super easy to change the oil, and that's because it's a boxer engine. Right there is your oil dipstick, nice and easy. Right here, down here, tucked with a yellow lid, is going to be your engine coolant intake, all right here. This is a great little engine. It's going to last as long as you need it to last, as long as you properly maintain it. I don't know why this is standing out so much to me. God, this thing looks tiny when in this view, at least in my viewfinder, it looks small. One of the things that has really struck me is I'm standing here looking at it like this with all the doors open, hoods up, back liftgate is up, but look how big the openings are for the doors. The doors open really, really wide. Look how big that opening is. That's actually kind of nice. I like that. The doors open really bigly. You see that? And that makes it easier to get in and out. However, the doors are super lightweight. Oh, I mentioned also something about that rear tailgate and how easy it was to open and close it because it's really lightweight. So you don't, I mean, it's convenient to have a power rear hatch, but this one is so easy to lift. See that? I mean, it's like one finger operation situation there. That's really easy. That sounded like I slammed it. I really didn't. I like the layout of the cabin overall in the Subaru Crosstrek. It's comfortable. The front passengers definitely are going to be really comfortable. Everything is easy to use, easy to access, and makes sense where it's placed. I like the texture and the feels of everything up front. I like the fact that this is a carbon fiber-like material right here. Everything is orange too. That's really nice because it's easy on the eyes at night, and just the materials are all pretty nice for the standard model that this one is in particular, although I imagine that the materials for all of them, no matter the trim level are going to be about the same. Toward the center of the dash, or right in the middle of the dash, you have two different screens. There's an information display screen that has all kinds of information right there. AC, climate information, exterior temperature, average miles per gallon, and the time, among other things. And then you have kind of like a little shelf there as well. And then whenever you're coming down here in between these two vents, there's your main display screen. That's color. It is touch sensitive. And then you've got your 2 dials for your audio, and then you have 3 dials. That's all for climate settings right there. You also have an extra little storage bin just in front of the gear shifter there, and there are going to be charging outlets right there. There's a charging power point, like a cigarette lighter adapter, on the right inside of that box, and then you have a USB and then another outlet right there. It does have a continuous variable transmission, so you have park, reverse, neutral, and then drive, and then a low gear. There's X mode right there, and whenever you press that, you see X mode pop up right there on your dash. X mode is almost like one part of the X mode system is going to be called what other manufacturers call downhill assist control. And downhill assist control basically allows the vehicle to control your speed whenever you're coming down a nasty big downhill. So all you do essentially is focus on steering. That's one of the cool benefits of X-Drive, or sorry, X mode. Over here on the left side, on the inside of the driver's door panel, is going to be your rear view mirror control there, left and right, lock and unlock of the doors. The 2 front windows are a full one-touch automatic. The rear windows are not, but they are power. And then that last button down there at the very bottom of the sack will lock access into the windows. The panel of buttons that we're looking at right now are in front of your left knee when you're in the driver's seat. The very top is going to be the controls for your gauge brightness. Below that is, and to the left is going to be traction control off, and then to the right of that where it says A and off, and there is a little circle around that A, that is your automatic engine shut off. And so that's what actually shuts off the engine whenever you come to a complete stop in order to save on fuel and to reduce emissions. Now taking a look at the steering wheel, overall the steering wheel is okay. In my opinion, Subaru could do well with cleaning this side up. These two buttons right here are going to be like for your radar cruise control, and that changes the distance that it's going to maintain between the Subaru and the vehicle in front of you. You can incorporate one button. You don't need two. That makes it too complicated. And so this actually gives you more range, and this reduces the range or the distance it's going to maintain. You can do that in one button, as almost every other manufacturer does. Radar cruise control, that activates radar cruise control. I would like to see this button be incorporated into this toggle, to where and this toggle makes it so that you can increase your speed and decrease your speed, and that also is set. However, I think Subaru ought to incorporate the activation for radar cruise control inside of this by allowing you to push the toggle in, and that turns on radar cruise control, and then you can control the speed there. And then right here at the bottom of the steering wheel on the right side is SI drive, and the one on the left that says S, and you can see that popping up right there, is going to be more sporty, and that actually does make a difference. It changes the shift pattern in the continuous variable transmission to make the accelerator more sensitive, and the I part right here, whenever you shift it, you can see that the band goes down. That's S up, and that's SI, and that's down, and you can see that it makes the arc less whenever you press I, and it makes the accelerator less sensitive. I actually have been driving it around pretty much in this mode, I drive, the whole time. It's all you need. And then here are your controls on the left side of the steering wheel, and this is all going to be audio right here within this section. And this is phone, Bluetooth, and voice commands. And then this section down here controls the multi-information display that's up here inside the dash, or inside the dash, and we're going to take a look at that right now. Okay, so everything we're going to be doing right now is going to be controlled by the toggle that I just showed you down on the bottom left of the steering wheel. I'm pushing the down arrow right now, and you can see that it's toggling through. There's your digital speedometer, there's your automatic engine shut off runtime and how many gallons that it saved. Then there is your tire pressure, real time, I love that. And then you can pull and hold I and set switch for the menu. So that's the button in the middle between those two toggles. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to pull and hold. And then there is screen settings, so you can see that this is one of 7 screens, and you can see at the bottom it gives you a nice little graphic right there that says select, enter, and select. So the two toggles are select, and then the one in the middle is enter. So I'm going to press down, so that's warning. So the first one is screen settings, warning volume, rear seat reminder, and whenever you get out of the vehicle it says check the rear seat. Is there anything in the rear seat you need to remember? I guess that's how you can cut that on and off. I would always leave that on. Eye Sight, that's what your big safety feature that's up in the top of the windshield there that always looks out, controls things like your radar cruise control and whatnot. So that's that. Vehicle setting, default, and then go back. So that's all within the toggle switches that are down at the very bottom left of the steering wheel, and I really recommend that you dive into that and actually use those, because that's really controls a lot of the features, including some safety features that you need to know about. Okay, now let's take a look at the center screen in your center stack here. You can see right here that it's on FM, and that it is on FM 99.5. That's like soft rock here in my area. And you can see it says hold all the way across, and this is one of 3 pages. So there's 18 total stations. And then when I hit it again, it goes back to 1 through 6. So it's 1 through 6, and and then it's 7 through 12, and then it's 13 through 18. Okay, so now what the reason the hold is there is because if I want to memorize 99.5 in the number 1 spot, press and hold, and now it memorized that. So I can actually combine AM, FM, and satellite radio stations all down here on one grouping, so that I can have at a quick access the stations that I listen to the most. And then little bitty right here it says sound, and then when I press that, that is going to allow me to adjust the bass, the mid-range, and the treble, all accordingly if I want to. Right now they're pretty well centered, and then I can take this and adjust it around to wherever I want to. You can see I can target the sound. Isn't that neat? Or I can just put it right back here in the middle, or I can use these arrows to fine tune it right there. I really like that. That's a great idea. The touch sensitivity of the screen is good. You can see up here in the top right, Bluetooth is on. I have a really good charge on my battery. That is my cell phone signal, and the function that we're on right now is FM. I can scan if I want to right there. I can press the home button, and this takes me home. So you can see my home selections are phone, settings, adding a shortcut, apps, media, and radio, and then this is one of 3 pages. These are blank right now because there's nothing on them, but you can see the indicator right here that lets me know that I'm on page 1 of 3 right now. I can add a shortcut, and what shortcut do I want to put? See that? But I can go back to phone and how-to car guy. There you go. I can go favorites, recent calls, keypad, phone book, or messages. Or I've got a little quick change device right there in case somebody else wants to hook up their phone. I can just hit change device and then follow the steps. Redial, that's a great idea to put on here because I can call the last person that I called. In my car, if you want to call the last person you called, there's several steps. In this one, boom, you hit redial and you can go back to the last person you called. Settings are right here. Driver profile, brightness adjust, display screen. I like the brightness adjust because it's doing it automatically right now, because it can sense the light or the lack thereof in the on the outside and adjust the brightness of the screen automatically for you. That's really nice. Driver profile, so I can change the settings and the themes and everything accordingly to the way I want them to be. And then let's say my wife could get in and she could do hers, and then maybe one of my daughters, if she was driving, she could do her profile, and then she could just pick her profile whenever she's driving the car. That's a great idea. I like that. We're going to go back. Then there's display screen, VR help screen. I think that's voice recognition, home screen shortcuts. So here's the biggest thing that I recommend. You can see that I mean, it's doing fine, but it's kind of weird. You see that? The scrolling part of it, there you go. It finally picked it up. It's probably going to be easier to use these 2 little up and down buttons right there. Notice that it says Android Auto. It also has Apple CarPlay as well. And there's Android Audio is blanked out. Apple CarPlay is blanked out because they're not hooked up. Aha and Pandora. Then there's media. This allows me to see where my media is coming from. So it says USB, Bluetooth, and auxiliary. We saw the USB and the auxiliary down there, down below, in front of the gear shifter in that storage cubby there. And then here's radio back to the screen that we were at. The drive of the Crosstrek, there are a lot of high points that I really like about it. Number 1, it feels really solid. It's an all-wheel drive vehicle, and it feels really well put together. Everything as far as the cabin is concerned is located well within reach. Everything's easy to use. Everything's pretty common sense. And that's kind of the way Subarus are anyways. Their cabins are pretty easily laid out. One of the things that I dislike is the CVT. The continuous variable transmission in this thing is actually super sensitive, very touchy, and whenever you take off from a standstill, it lunges really bad. The other part is that when you're in a rolling stop, so if you're driving in a neighborhood and you turn, without coming to a complete stop, but you slow down big time, it has that lunge again. And I can't understand that. I've been able to kind of overcome that by driving it for a whole weekend, kind of around town and everything. But it's like I just can't get really used to it. So I would imagine that you'll overcome that and you know, kind of get used to it and orient yourself on how to do it when you have it for a while. But as far as driving it for the first time, it's really kind of freaky a little bit. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it does have all-weather tires. The tires are a little bit beefier since this is all-wheel drive capable. It sits up a little bit higher, so it is going to have a little bit, that is going to translate into a little bit more road noise. To me, that's totally fine. It's not a big deal at all. We're going to go up here and get on the highway because I really want to get it out and get it at speeds 60 and above. The other thing I like about it, and I know this sounds kind of weird, but is the way the tick of the turn signal sounds. It's just got this little gentle tick. Ford right now has almost a musical note sounding tick to it, but this one's really nice. So here we go. The CVT is actually really smooth right now. It's a dream. It's beautiful. It actually feels like the engine is not really trying that hard, but right now we're up to 70, and it's great. It's just at lower speeds. The other thing is the lane keeping assist on the steering wheel. It just randomly beeps at you every once in a while, especially through an intersection, and I think that's where the eye system that Subaru has cannot see the lines in the road at all, or it sees too many. It will deactivate and it beeps to let you know that. Not a huge deal, but it's just something to be aware of. Right now, 65 miles an hour, and it feels wonderful. The radar cruise control, flawless. It does great. In fact, if you're using it at lower speeds in a city situation, it will actually break you all the way down to 0, and it's super smooth. Really, really nice. Overall, I really like the driving dynamic of it. You cannot tell it's all-wheel drive. It just is really smooth. The other thing that I noticed is that when you get in and out of it, it's nice because it does sit up a little bit higher, so it's actually pretty nice to get in and out. It's kind of in between a sedan that seats low and an SUV that sits up a little bit higher. This is right in the middle. It's at a nice little sweet spot. And now let's take a look at the backup camera. I'm going to put the shifter in reverse. And there is our backup camera, and you can see that you have green little indicators, yellow and red, and then there's a plus right there. The plus indicates that is the center of the bumper in the event that you have a trailer hitch right there. That's where your trailer hitch would be. So you can see that as I back up, there are going to be orange lines that appear, and those orange lines represent where the steering wheel is going. If you stay pointed in that direction, the steering, you're going to end up there. So I see the white lines on the lot. All I want to do is line up the green and the yellow and the red with the white on the lot, and then I want to put it right there. So right now we're nice and centered in the very middle of that space. I've got a little bit of room right here. I have plenty of room out in front. So we are in this space perfectly. Okay, everybody, that's our look at the 2021 Subaru Crosstrek. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it and bringing it to you. Again, I want to thank Impex Auto Sales for the use of this really cool Crosstrek. Again, check out all of their information on their website, and I'll be sure to leave all of their contact information, including that website, in the description box below. Also, make sure you tell me what you think about the Crosstrek in the comments section. I would love to hear from you. But remember, the most important thing of all, everybody, have a wonderful day.